It's Spoilerin time. We're back, and this week we will finish off talking about The Stand, Season 1, Episode 9, The Circle Closes, or Franny in the Well, depending on where you look. WandaVision, we'll be talking about Episodes 6 and 7 of Season 1, and Hannibal, Season 1, Episode 12. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man, dude, it's been 2 weeks, and so as a result, like I gobbled up all of our weekly views. I had to go back and rewatch a couple of them, or at least kind of scrub through to make sure, like I am caught up, right? And I'm ready to rock, sir. Reporting for duty.
Let's do it. Let's talk about The Stand. I guess the post finale, or coda as it was being billed, but now IMDb calls it The Circle Closes. So maybe it's just the last episode, in which Franny does in fact fall into a well, and a young girl who apparently is Whoopi Goldberg shows up and saves her.
So 2 things. I did find it remarkable that the name change, and by remarkable, I don't mean like I've never seen that before. That is a tactic that is often used on YouTube, where it's like,
was it a tactic or was it just bad data? That's what I couldn't tell if IMDb and the other places I were looking just were guessing, or if this was something that was put out by CBS and then they changed it.
I know,
in which case it would be a tactic.
I know that I only have experienced any of this content through the CBS.com All Access, whatever.
Okay.
And I saw the name Coda, Franny in the Well is the next episode. Then the episode came out, and then the name was The Circle Closes, which I don't know that I hate, because we talked last time about how like why do a coda? Why do this? And I suggested that maybe they're trying to telegraph that the story of the Darkman is now over. If you're hoping for something next week, there's not going to be anything there. It's done. There's just going to be a standalone story next week. Then that standalone episode comes out, and it's like, okay, you're all here. You all saw it. That was chapter 9. It's called The Circle Closes.
The coda part makes sense to me there from what you're saying. You've convinced me on that. But why call it Franny in the Well then? Because that's such a, I mean, it's not a spoiler, I guess, but I don't know. It's weird.
Well, the chapter, if I remember from the book, was called Franny in the Well.
Okay.
I don't think it was a literal well. I don't remember her actually falling and breaking
her leg. Was this time.
It certainly was. And that's fine. I mean,
I groaned very, very loud when I saw the well and I saw how it was set up. And then she just definitely fell in very quickly. Those were very thick boards that she burst through, apparently.
Not to talk out of school, but Bryce and I had a catch-up conversation yesterday. Yesterday? This seems like a year ago. And,
I believe it was.
And in casual, like not having anything to do with work, Bryce is like, hey, while I have your attention, were you serious about liking this episode?
In the group chat, he was like, this might be the best episode that I liked. And I was like, what? Are you kidding? Because you were kind of playing it off a little jokey, and I could, because I mean, it's different.
And my reaction in the group chat of the three of us was, it certainly wasn't as bad as the last one, but.
Oh, okay, yes. Let me make the case for why I liked it.
Sure.
And again, this is absolutely colored by having read the book twice, and I can't divorce myself. Like we've already given up on the overall quality of the show. If you enjoyed the book and you want some pictures to go along with the book, here's some pictures to go along with the book. That's the best, most glowing review we can give to any of this. Having said that, as somebody who read the book, part of what makes the book sing is this fusion of big world and small world energy. Big world, everything is ending. It is literally the end of the world. And yet, you need to poop in the woods, and where you go, what kind of leaves are the right leaves to use? Big world, small world fusion. I felt like they nailed in this one episode because they didn't rely on jumping forward and backwards in time. They didn't feel any need to explain anything that happened in the big world. They didn't have to explain who the Darkman was. They didn't have to explain who Mother Abigail was. They didn't have to explain about the epic battle between good and evil. All of that was gone. And for one brief moment, it felt like the journey of the book actually felt. So having said that, that might be very boring for an hour-long CBS original, and I wouldn't blame you for thinking so, but it felt authentic in a way that nothing before this has to me.
I do agree that tonally this was very, very different. And I think the bones of this episode are probably stronger than the structure of the previous 8 episodes. It was just all of the little bits that felt very either obvious or cliched, right? She falls down a well. A dog goes and gets James Marsden, and the little dark-skinned girl is God, I guess, or maybe that's Mother Abigail.
Young Abigail. It's young Abigail.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's funny is I never picked up on that. But then again, at this point, I'm only half watching.
They make it clear at one point that she's called Abby, and she's credited as young Abigail Fremantle as well.
Okay. Well, I didn't watch the credits, but Abby is something that even as it happened, I would have filed as, oh, what a cute echo of Mother Abigail. But
it's just,
but if it's that overt, then that
she also makes when she
away.
knows Stu by name. There's a little hint there of like, oh, wait a minute, yeah.
But so it was the cliche bits that got to me. The fact that, like, what's it? Franny's big stand is to stand
to
up.
Literally stand,
and we're making our stand. I've been joking about this for the past few weeks, and Tom has been taking those jokes in stride and not telling me what the stand is. But I'm guessing it sounds like it's just standing up. Miraculously for sure. Yeah. Finally, we get to see some version of Mother Abigail do anything miraculous. But
now that she's dead.
Real quick side jack. I just want to imagine like a troll reviewer account, like, when is somebody gonna stand in this show? And in the last episode, finally somebody stood.
Still know the tan though. I still don't know why the graphic looks.
Oh, that it's such an awful intro thing. I don't know what about the word "the" needed to be morphed into tanned.
Tom, what did you think?
Oh, I actually liked the beginning when we got Stu and Tom Cullen came back to the town. That felt like a nice resolution of kind of what you're talking about, Brian, of the bigger worlds and the smaller worlds, and everything's over, and a sigh of relief. I even liked the setup of like, we just want to go back east. Like, I kind of get that people would start to get restless, as crazy as it sounds. Like, I don't want to be in this small town. I want to go back and see where I came from. Maybe I just need to see it in order to come back to Boulder in the end, but I got to do it to find out. Once we got to the house and the young Abigail that's hiding in the corn, and it lost me again. It wasn't horrible. I wasn't even rolling my eyes, but I was like, did I need this? Did I need to have the one final battle? I guess I did. I need to have Abigail Fremantle beat the Dark Man, and through Franny, she does.
Well,
it just didn't. It's all about the context, and in the book, it works great. And in the show, it just didn't.
What did you guys did either of you see? I believe the after credit scene. Was it an after credit scene, or was it just the final scene of the show?
Where he goes to
to the remote village tribe in real life.
Yeah.
Where the Dark Man shows back up. Yeah.
So, notes on that moment.
Does that tie into the Dark Tower stuff in any way? Because that felt incredibly extraneous.
It was obvious and on the nose to an unfortunate degree, because I feel like in the CBS version, by now they've established this is a being that exists to the extent that people fear him, right? And if I'm remembering correctly, I in the book, he is just a man, but now he notices that he can float, and it must be time for me to become the thing again. And then there's the atomic bomb or whatever, and then he's quote unquote dead. And then there's that chapter at the end where it's just a bunch of primitives, noble savages, however you want to put it. And he kind of becomes awake. But you could tell it's much like the Doctor having a new reincarnation of himself. It's a new, like, I wouldn't have minded if they had transformed his physical being a little bit. So much like the Doctor, we figure out that it's him. And
so it felt like maybe there would be some surprise about a man from civilization entering the uncivilized world before killing them all ruthlessly.
It's apparently from the complete uncut edition of The Stand, the Russell Faraday bit.
Correct. But most importantly to me is I believe in that version, which I've now listened to twice, I believe the phrase he says is some version of, I not worship me screaming in a scary way, but instead like he doesn't know who he is or why he's there, but he recognizes the look of fear on people's faces, and he smiles and he's like, I'm Richard Faraday or whatever the name is, and he says Russell Faraday, and he says, I am here to either lead you or bring you civilization, but he does not say worship me at all, because and I was disappointed that they gave that reductionist thing, because like they sort of implied that this is an eternal force that feels like he wants to bring fake order to various civilizations over time. So I liked it more than most Stand episodes.
Wait, what do
Tom,
we think of?
You're going to be the tiebreaker.
I think it was my 5th favorite Stand episode.
Really?
Wow. That's low. I think most of these are going to trend lower than higher. That's anything stand out about it? I mean, it's
no.
You said stand out.
No. Sorry, I just tweeted from that fictitious account.
I don't think so. I think we've run our course on the Coda and the Stand. There it is.
Good
the
riddance.
Complete series, The Stand. Thank you.
Am I right in reading your general tone, Tom, as just apathy, just pure apathy? Like at this point, you can't even be bothered to decide if you liked it or not.
The series as a whole, I mostly liked in the first half, and then liked less and less as it went along.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about WandaVision episodes 6 and 7. We're going to bundle in the all new Halloween Spooktacular with Breaking the Fourth Wall. If I'm remembering right, the all new Halloween Spooktacular was a bit of a early 2000s Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah,
it was
Malcolm
exactly
in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Take off on the open. Breaking the Fourth Wall was a bit Modern Family with the Office style open. And what I'll throw out here, which is a bit of an overarching thing about WandaVision overall, is I like how they are very good at matching the development and storytelling of the era they're parodying with the development of the story. So in the beginning, everything is sweetness and light, just like all shows were in the 50s, except it's really not. They're hiding things, which just like they were in the 50s.
All shows in the 50s. Yeah.
And as we slowly add a little bit more reality with every progression of the television era, we add a little more reality until Breaking the Fourth Wall. We've got the single mom thing where it's like, well, life isn't great, but sometimes I'm going to be selfish. And that's matching perfectly with the problems she's having with the kids and how she's treating Vision and the dispute, all of which would not have made a predictable parody episode in the 50s era, but it's perfect for this 2000.com era parody.
The only amendment I could think of to your prescription is that as television adds reality, I would make sure to put air quotes around reality. We get more capital R reality in our story, right? And it's almost as though that's a very whispered, implicit suggestion about like, hey, you do realize television is no more real than it used to be. We're still hiding everything. Which I mean, I know we're now at like kind of second level thinking on that, but to me, man, was I just struck with everything from the note for note perfection that they've exacted on every single era of television, the note for note on the direction, the note for note of the acting for the various moments and the storytellings. The very last one had the most problems in that things have gotten dark enough that the whole episode is about how she's hungover and uncomfortable or whatever. And forgive me, I'm working from my the only cracks I can find in this, because these are 2 great episodes and a great series.
It was kind of a one-note storyline for Wanda to just be but I think it does illustrate the point.
The TV show storyline was
yes,
because the quote unquote reality of the world around her is intruding too much. That's not leaving enough room for a compelling TV storyline anymore.
And I don't have an obvious solution for anyone on the team that did this to fix that, but it was something I noticed. Like, normally when we're watching the TV show, we're appreciating how good the TV show is, but there's kind of nothing good about any of Wanda's bits.
But I like
that last episode.
I feel like that is where they were leading us the whole time, which was like, we're convincing you this is about television shows, but it's not. And we've now got to the point where the simulation is threadbare. She can't keep this up for very much longer. And reality is meeting the present, right? We're no longer in a 50s world. We're in a world that is very close to our own. And so there's only shreds of it. I like that. I feel like that's a nice little parallel of like, as we get more and more of the story, we need less and less of the simulated story, just the trappings of it that we kind of have come to enjoy because it's good parody.
So this is a quick note. We all love the ending, right? The Agnes reveal was freaking amazing. If you told me in advance that that's how it was going to go, I would have rolled my eyes. But instead, I loved that and was singing the song for the rest of the day. It was amazing.
It was a great way to do that, given all of the nerds spent all past 9 weeks telling us, "Oh, it's Agatha Harkness, duh." Like I was really glad that they did the song and the whole routine, because I am really over the discussion of like, here are all of the comic books things that it's going to be.
Yes, you're really smart. It was Agatha the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
You're so smart. We're singing a song. Yeah, you're super smart. Don't you feel great now that we poisoned the well and you're a piece of crap? You're smart.
Those were the lyrics, if anyone doesn't remember them. I also love that Darcy is in here now.
Yes. And conscious.
And so as Monica Rambeau comes in and becomes Spectrum, we think, they haven't called her that, but her powers and everything look closest to the Spectrum character from the comics that Monica Rambeau becomes. It's nice to have another not powerful person on the ground who Vision has woken up. They established a long time ago that he can do that. So I'm like, oh yeah, just wake her up. Come on, let's have a talk. I think that's great.
I also delighted in, I'm a big fan of inoculating. Like the moment somebody is worried that something's going to go cheesy, all you have to do is, and we've talked about this before, in advertising, they call it address and dismiss. You don't have to give an actual answer. All you have to do is acknowledge that, yeah, that's kind of weird. So all of a sudden Darcy's, so cut to Vision talking to Darcy saying, so I died, but then I was alive again. You're like, right, but then the guy came back from from an alternate reality and killed you again. You're like, so I was dead again, but now I'm alive and now I don't remember. Like, it's like when you say it, like just address and dismiss. It's great.
Well, and also that's a central tenet of the mystery here. Like that's going to be what we learn in the last or the second to last episode, I'm sure, is why he's back or how he became back.
Also, I definitely collected all the bets because I was like, oh my God, next week it has to be like the Office era. And then I followed it up by saying, oh my God, someone's going to do the Jim look. And
they didn't do it great. They did it a couple times and it wasn't.
They did it well enough for me. I collected my ransom. Yeah. To the meta game, I think there's a couple of kind of color-coded cues. You've got Vision has the Mind Stone, the yellow. You've got Scarlet Witch has a piece of whatever the red Infinity Stone was or whatever. And then we see Monica Rambeau flashing some blue, which is an echo of I think a piece of the same power that Captain Marvel has, I believe. And then we've got Agatha Harkness flash in purple, which we only associate with the purple skin of Thanos. So if I were to generalize the meta story as I understand it, just as a casual viewer, not as somebody who's read whatever comic books, I would say that it looks an awful lot like somebody who wants the power, the residual power of various Infinity Stones and has placed Scarlet Witch in a trap originally in the 1950s. And what we're seeing in the progression is her fighting from inside her cell closer and closer to, quote, reality, which is capital R, actual reality. That's her actually battling her way to the reality of the MCU that we're seeing episode after episode. And then and then along with that, whatever version from a different dimension this Vision is also waking up and figuring that out. Does that track?
Yeah, I like that, and it meshes with a lot of the comic book theories out there. Now that the nerds have been proved right about Agatha Harkness,
hey, we can move nerds, on. You've been proven right.
Now we can move on to speculating about Mephisto, because there is an orange book with some orange light in an otherwise purple area, which everyone is now pointing to. But what's that about? And Mephisto seems like the logical source of that. Whether Mephisto is really behind Agatha, or whether that's just Agatha borrowing something from Mephisto. Mephisto is, supposed to show up in Doctor Strange, possibly. When I don't say supposed as in must, but supposed as in thought to maybe show up in Doctor Strange as Doctor Strange's nemesis. So maybe it's just an illusion. Maybe Mephisto is Ralph. But as they answer one question, they gave everybody another one to run after. And from what I've read about the comic book lore, the two kids are actually absorbed into Mephisto, and Agatha helps Scarlet Witch forget them, so she's not traumatized anymore. So there might be some play on that theme about to happen. Doesn't seem like it would be word for word, but some variation on that theme might be about to happen with the kids here as well.
Which is how kind of Billy and Tommy work in the comics, right? They're not actually
That's
her.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, and I'm going all the way back to the late 80s, the only times I saw Mephisto were in X-Force, which is, a spinoff of the younger next generation of X-Men and so on. Maybe I saw Mephisto in Doctor Strange here or there. I didn't really read that. I only knew him as the friend of Peter Parker. But I saw a lot of Mephisto in one comic book, the elephant in the room with 4 legs, and Fantastic Four. That's all I know Mephisto from is Fantastic Four as the villain.
And there've been a couple of Fantastic Four allusions. Like, I know a scientist, but then it turned out that the scientist was maybe this woman who gave her the big truck, and that truck possibly came from a different character named Adam, who might be showing up instead of the Fantastic Four's Reed Richards, which everybody thought. But then I don't know, maybe Reed Richards is also behind it somehow. Who knows? So yeah, we've got lots of possibilities. Probably with Fantastic Four, they're not going to play too many of those cards. At least not with
not on this, not this early. Yeah,
but nice little pepperings, in the side. I could see them do that.
Yeah. So thumbs down all around. We all hate it.
Yeah,
pretty terrible.
Seriously, rage quit. Not going to watch another show.
I don't like how arrogant the format of the show is, as illustrated by having an after credit scene this week in the middle of the credit sequence. They cut back to what's their name? Right. Spectrum seeing the opening up the basement, and then Quicksilver comes and banks over the head, which was completely unnecessary. I don't think that there is any reason to put that right there.
That was to show you that Pietro is still there. Okay. That's the purpose of that scene, is to say, hey, you didn't see Pietro this entire episode, but he was there, so that when we bring him up next episode and tell you why he's there, you won't go, well, what happened to him last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I share your frustration, Bryce. Like I'm over the after credits thing.
It's not even the last episode of the season, and they did this.
Like this perpetual low grade anxiety, having to check well, it's your own fault for not checking the internet before watching this. The internet, the minefield of spoilers. That's where you want me to go to find out. But
also,
let me just type
I
in.
don't think you were missing much. I think that was a choice of what, if you miss this scene, it won't matter that much, but it does set something up if you're really that curious.
I also don't like that they're still doing the full 30-second long Marvel tag at the beginning. Very frustrating that they can't just be like, Marvel.
You know what? I'm I'm gonna counter. In theory, I think 10 years ago, Brian would be 100% on the same page with you. But as a guy who gathers his family into the same room to watch the same thing at the same time, that's an experience I don't remember since the Dukes of Hazzard and Knight Rider. And if the excuse for letting all the kids get settled is that we have to sit through this sweeping reminder of the journey that we've taken so far, as a dad, I'm okay with it. But if I were living alone, I'd be all like, "Where's the skip? Give me."
Well, I'm in a different situation. I like it on a practical level because I get up first thing in the morning and watch this on my phone. And Apple TV knows that I've watched it and marks it as watched. So as soon as I'm done, I take it all the way back to the beginning so that Apple TV will show it as just started, so that when Eileen and I watch it together later on the big screen TV, it's still there in the list of episodes to be watched. And I've got a nice long buffer, which means I won't have gotten into missing any content.
Okay.
So you're wrong, Bryce.
I'm wrong. Apparently, I'm wrong.
All right. Any other thoughts on WandaVision?
No, it's good.
It's really good. That's WandaVision.
Just a quick end tag.
Too late.
Doggone it. I did.
This is our after credit scene for WandaVision.
Yes.
So I was trying to put together how long ago Captain America, the very first Avengers movie, or the first Avenger, and I was describing the movie to Josie, who's 13 now, and she's all like, "Yeah, I don't know that I've seen that." Went back and watched it, and this is Marvel at its best, but before the Disney acquisition. That dude straight up murders so many people. It's unreal. Go back and watch it because, it's hard. It's hard, and he's acting very un-Captain America. It's amazing.
Let me tell you about the people of Sokovia.
No, okay, whatever. Those are bodies in the background. I'm talking about.
They're not even real people, Bryce.
Yeah, like they bothered to make Hydra look like actual Nazi humans who get shot in the effing head. It's unreal.
That sounds cool.
All right. That's WandaVision. Well, that was Captain America, the first Avenger, but most of our conversation was WandaVision, episode 6 and 7, season 1. Let's finish up with Hannibal. Well, we're not finished with Hannibal, but we are going to talk about Hannibal, season 1, episode 12, Releve. Anyway, episode 12.
That's French
for Gillian Anderson's reel.
No, it's French for do not trust. Because I went back and for a second time, I watched it last week and I went and scrubbed through it today. And I was like, oh yeah, there was that scene where it seemed like the whole purpose of this scene was to establish that Gillian Anderson was definitely real. And then watching it a second time, I'm like, this is exactly how I would represent somebody speaking to somebody who is suffering from multiple personality disorder.
What?
And in a world where we don't trust anything that is surrounding with Will at all, that seems exactly.
Hannibal's not our. Well, I guess Hannibal's not our. Will's not really in that scene. But
go back and watch it again.
I watched it this morning.
I don't trust nothing about this episode except for the fact that Hannibal definitely put his cards on the table with what's her name. I do believe that ending.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything else.
When I watched this too, I was glad to rewatch this again today because this episode is so fantastic. I mean, Hannibal is now making moves. These are the moves that will get Hannibal caught. He is actively lying and telling contradictory stories to people who are central to this plot. This is what's going to get him caught.
But he also, the moves he's making that are honest and direct are moves to people he very clearly perceives that he has fully marginalized. Great. Everyone now believes Will is a crazy person and a killer. So I can now say whatever I want to Will, whatever the girl is. Everyone believes you killed that dude on purpose. Now I can speak to you plainly and honestly because I have now mulliganed your card in the poker game that I'm playing.
And my guess is what they're trying to set up here is obviously Hannibal thinks Will is still in Montana, and so he's going to be able to blame the girl's death on him. But obviously he's back in Virginia by the next episode, and they're going to be very clearly see, oh, there's definitely no way that it's Will, this person who we just started suspecting in all of this. I mean, to me, that's the next step.
So at that point, Will's job is to land and run around DC or Virginia saying, I'm not crazy. I think it's Hannibal. Yeah. And then it's like, well, you have encephalitis or whatever. And it's like, well, some kind of drama. It's like, well, there is one radical procedure that nobody's tried for encephalitis. And maybe that will make us believe that you're telling the truth. And I don't know. I don't know what that is going to look like.
And there's a second season to this. There's at least 2. Is it 2 or 3 seasons?
I thought there was 3.
So we still, there are 3. So there's ways to go, and I don't know if this means that maybe Hannibal is in the wind next season. Maybe he's on the run and he's outsmarting them. I know how you work, Will and Agent.
That would actually be it's weird to try to predict things on a show that's been dead for however many years, but I could totally see them getting to a critical point, and then like Kaiser Soze, he's like, I think it's time for me to vanish for a moment, and then he truly vanishes for the first few episodes of season 2, and then starts showing up under maybe he pulls off a mask and
oh my god, I would love that, and that would be such this show to say at the end of season 1 he's in the wind, and then for many episodes we don't even see him. Then
a character is revealed to be him later,
or no, just he shows, and then we just start seeing him later. Like instead of doing the like, oh, now what's Hannibal up to? Because it does a good job of like really not showing Hannibal in the act almost every single time, assuming that it's him behind these murders.
Yeah,
that would be very good.
Not as good as a crossover with the DC universe on the CW, where like he like eats the Flash and he's like, sometimes I want fast food.
And he's wearing a sweater and he calls it fast casual.
Yes.
This is what happens when Tom disconnects the call. We don't know where he's at.
The adult leaves the room, and instantly this is what it becomes.
He's right here. There he goes.
Thank goodness. I definitely was on high alert and highly skeptical the entire time. Tom, I don't think you missed much.
Tom, what did you think now that you're here and back? How's it going?
Okay, the thing I'm most frustrated about, my internet taking a dive right in the middle of that, was I wanted to hear the rest of Brian's theory about how they could have Lawrence Fishburne in the room with Gillian Anderson and yet it still be imaginary.
Because that is exactly how you represent in many different movies. Whenever somebody, like one thing we've only barely hinted at multiple personality disorder or dissociative personality disorder. We've never seen it from Will's point of view or whatever, but if that is going to be a player in this game, they'll have to represent it somehow.
We've seen the daydreams and
we've seen Will losing his mind, losing time, having difficulty distinguishing dreams from reality, right. But we've never seen, am I speaking to Bryce now? And it's like, no, you're speaking to Darth Bryce. We've never seen that moment.
But that's the scene that Will's not in. So you're saying he's concocting the entire scene
I'm
as
saying, what if Will is not the one with dissociative disorder? And what if this is what if Gillian Anderson is a personality of somebody, maybe not even Hannibal Lecter, but if you were to represent that, am I speaking to Gillian Anderson right now moment, it would look an awful lot like what we saw in this episode.
You don't think Jack Crawford would recognize Hannibal Lecter?
No. Well, let's say, who's to say it's Hannibal Lecter's other personality?
Well, then why would Jack Crawford show up and say, "Is this Dr. DeMaurier?" Oh, wait, no, you're not. I mean, or if it was not Dr. DeMaurier and she said she was, then I'm less impressed.
So again, my thesis is not that I have the answer. My thesis is only that I don't trust that that's verification that Gillian Anderson's character is a real human being.
I'll just take that on faith, right? Is that this show would try to pull that. I don't doubt it. I'm having a hard time seeing how it would convince me when you have Jack Crawford and Dr. DeMaurier in the room without our unreliable narrators. But if they do, that's a heck of a trick, and I can't wait.
Well, I think and also like maybe the conversations between Hannibal Lecter and Dr. DeMaurier, I guess her name is, maybe those are real conversations between who we see as Hannibal Lecter and another human who we know who has been broken into multiple personalities or whatever.
That could be, that would fit all the facts, but that doesn't wow me. If it's like, oh, it's just somebody I never got introduced for. It would wow me if she wasn't there, she was Hannibal, she was Will. This scene seemed to have ruled that out, but maybe they just convinced me 2 + 2 is 5.
I think there are two things that we haven't brought up in this conversation, and I think that they are opposing forces. I think one is the existence of the police report and what the purpose of that scene is. If it's okay, we can hear you typing, Tom. What the purpose of that scene is, if the result when Jillian goes to speak to Hannibal and say, "Hey, I just talked about you with Jack, and everybody just saw it a minute ago." I don't know why you would show that scene unless it's a red herring. But the other thing is that they keep bringing up the police report and the incident that happened with the other patient. And I think that the layout of that scene, as it's been brought up multiple times, where I guess Hannibal came and killed one of her patients, and they covered it up together as like an act of self-defense. That seems to involve enough people where it would be strange to make that fake.
Did you guys talk about Abigail and Hannibal, and Hannibal's, merciful?
Just briefly.
Yeah. Watching it a second time, he never says, "I'm going to kill you." He has very evasive answers the entire way through. Mm-hmm. It's certainly. He does he all but says it when he says, "I couldn't protect you in this life." Right.
But he doesn't kill her, and he doesn't say he's gonna kill her.
That's correct. Which means
so we're left. It's a cliffhanger. We're left expecting him to kill her, but we don't know.
Well, and plus also, "I couldn't protect you in this life." Who's to say next episode it's like crazy hallucinogenic, try ayahuasca, and it's like, "Now you're reborn as a new person. I don't remember anything in my previous life." And he's like, "I know, that's why I'm weeping. Also, your tears taste delicious." And I'm never mind.
Wow. We're definitely going to have to cut that out.
Sorry.
Yes, but also we've seen that the character Hannibal, when he goes into a mo where he's intervening, he tends to kill people more than cure them.
Right. That's why I feel like it's a good cliffhanger of like, well, he's got to kill her, right? Why didn't they show it to us?
Well,
tune in next week and find out.
Hold on. Counter proposal. "I couldn't help you in this life." We think he's talking about ending her life. What if that's the Kaiser Soze get out of jail? Is he, quote unquote, Hannibal Lecter found dead, or we all watched him jump off that bridge? How would you fake that?
Sure. That I'll buy.
Okay, I think that would be
right. Yeah. And so it's his life. Like, he now recognizes that there's enough chaos vectors and the walls are closing in, and like he's done many times before, he's going to end this version of himself. And because quote unquote, who we know as Hannibal Lecter. The only thing we know for sure is at some point he gets captured and it's known that he's Hannibal Lecter. He could, quote unquote, die and come back as a different name and be in a different area or wear a mustache or whatever. And then eventually now the new game is, do we find out that that's Hannibal?
John Everyman that Hannibal Lecter is.
Hector Hannibal, not Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's options there, but I definitely am not convinced that Gillian Anderson is real, and I do believe that he really laid his cards on the table at the end of it.
I am very convinced that Dr. DeMaurier is real, and it will be mind blowing if she's not, or I will be very disappointed. I have trust in Hannibal that it'll be mind-blowing, that they won't disappoint me. I'm very with you on no idea if he's going to kill Abigail or not, or himself, or something surprising is going to happen next week. And I love that.
One visual thing, just to go back to the two doctors thing briefly, at the end of the scene where Hannibal and Dr. DeMaria are talking, there's this very weird choreography happens that, he's been standing by the window the whole time and she's been sitting in this rightmost chair. And by the end of that conversation, she stands up and she's taking a step or so. And as Hannibal is, very resolutely saying hey, when I'm done with Will Graham, in so many words, I'm going to kill him and he's not going to be a problem anymore. And then he sits down in her seat right next to where she's standing, which is very interesting. And they frame it up at the very end as a very awkward kind of power move that he does, taking, her throne. Maybe I think that leads into some of the ambiguity that you two are talking about, that Brian is mentioning of how real is she?
And keep in mind, a good fake out can be appreciated. Mild implied spoilers for Inception did a really good job of shooting some reality things in a very dreamlike way and some dreamlike things in a very real way. This could be intentional, where it's that's all in reality, and it's only awkward because it was a straight up power move in that moment or whatever.
This would be the very first example of a non-reality moment on this show that is not tied with all of the nature imagery that we see through Will's eyes, right, including
specifically
the fiery antlers scene that we see at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, it would be the
very
first non-Will unreality moment.
Mm-hmm. I thought this was a great episode. Tom, overall, did you like this episode?
Yeah, I did. This is really feeling like we've gone beyond the is it procedural? Is it not procedural? It's we're just in the story now. Yeah. And I can't wait to find out where it goes next.
Yeah.
It's funny where it's I thought I was reading a bunch of magazine articles. This is a novel? Well, okay, I'm this far in.
Yes, so.
That's the trap I would imagine you went through, Bryce.
a little bit, but that's great. No, I'm still digging it. I like the show.
So there you go. That's Hannibal, season 1, episode 12. And that's spoiler in time. Next time, we will be talking about WandaVision episode 8 of season 1, Hannibal episode 13 of season 1, and the first 2 episodes of Raised by Wolves, which is what we'll be watching on HBO Max until Invincible premieres on Amazon Prime Video. Till next time, we will spoil you soon.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.